All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Ken, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. A few questions came in. A few questions came in here. One is that whatever, it's a common question comes up, definitely comes up, and that is why is it? Why? It's really a two-part question, right? Just hit the first part, I guess. First is why is it difficult to get anyone in the Jewish community to talk to me? Is there a reason for that? Right? And second part of the question, which really not related, but I'll mention anyway, and that is there a very real possibility I could lose my job if I refuse to work on Saturday, i.e., on Shabbos? And is that a test? It's God testing me to see why I serve. All right, let's get to the first question. Um, First question is why is it that it's hard to get a hold of anyone in the Jewish community? Well, the assumption I would think is, and not just talking about getting a hold of anyone in the Jewish community, but I would say rabbis in the Jewish community. Right? And someone spoke to yesterday had mentioned that this is this is a problem. This is a this is a this is a real issue. In other words, they contact synagogue, they try and contact the rabbi or someone to help them, and they don't answer. Right? Seemingly, either they take the time answering, or they don't answer, or maybe they get back to you much later. Whatever it may be. So part of the thing is I would say that for sure is a test, right? It's a test of somebody's mettle, right? In other words, you gotta have big shoulders, right? You gotta have big shoulders over here. Can't get deterred easily, right? Meaning that they may just take their time. They may just take their time getting back to you. Now, it could be also, they're extremely busy, and they're extremely busy working with Jews. So because they're busy working with Jews, non-Jews going to take, a backseat. Now, does that mean they should never contact them? That means you should wait months to contact them. So some people see the test. I've heard many people say it's really haven't seen a true source for it. And that is the rabbinical courts or rabbis in general are going to reject someone 3 times. So I can say I've never really seen such a source, right? Such a source for, such a thing. But keep in mind, you'll keep in mind that first of all, working with Jews would seem to be more of a priority, right? Why would working with Jews be more of a priority? Because you'll say we look out for our own. Okay, there are a lot of Jews that don't know, there are about 13.5 million Jews, or give or take, that don't know the alphabet, don't know anything about Judaism. So it's a choice. Again, people can call it discrimination. You can say what you want, but at the end of the day, we're going to look out for our own first, right? In other words, you got 13.5 million Jews don't know anything about Judaism, right? And a non-Jew comes in, and you have an opportunity to work with other people. Who are you going to work with first, right? You work with Jews. Right? You work with Jews. You don't want to lose Jews. Non-Jews, they come a dime a dozen. They want to convert. They don't want to convert. They flake out. I mean, plenty of people flake out. Why do they flake out? Could be any number of reasons. They can't move. Family, money. Could be all three of them. Could be could be a lot of could be a lot of a lot of different reasons. I would say that in this process, you have to be you have to be proactive. right? I'm not saying obnoxious and whatever, but you have to be proactive. No one's gonna, hold your hand over here, right? And if you're not proactive, what's gonna happen? You'll never convert, right? You'll never. It'll take a lot longer. Take a lot longer. So I would say, if someone doesn't get back to you, after a few days, contact them again, right? You hear that from me. Hopefully, not recording here, right? All right, but at the end of the day, you got to be on top of it. People are busy enough, they forget. Maybe they heard it, they didn't hear it, they didn't remember. Whatever it is, it could be a test also. It could very well be a test. I'm not saying be obnoxious. I'm not saying call every day, 10 times a day. But if you want to get your foot in the door, you gotta be, more proactive. Now, could you just, show up to the synagogue and ask to speak to someone? You could do that, right? No one's gonna, call you back. You could do that, right? That's not being obnoxious. All right, that's being more proactive. I had a student that was in a certain area, and the synagogue's in a gated community. Right? So like you needed a pass or whatever, to get in. He's like, nobody answered his calls. Right? No one answered their calls. So it became more proactive. So I actually went there. Right? But the problem was the gated community. So it's hard to get in. It's hard to get in. But but again, this has nothing to do with discrimination. It could be, it could be a test, 100%. Testing someone's mettle. Very well could be. To see how serious they are, to see how dedicated they are, right? And keep in mind, there's a priority here. If I had a choice, what I do is very strange because I'm working with Jews and non-Jews. So, I'm contacted by a lot of non-Jews, a lot of Jews want to learn more about Judaism. Okay, they're not, they're not the majority of people I deal with. What I do is a little bit strange, okay, but in general, who are we looking out for? Our own, right? That's not, that's not discrimination, but, they should be helped. A non-Jew comes in, should be helped. Should they be, should their metal be tested? And I don't think that's a bad thing, right? See how dedicated a person is. So someone says, wow, you answer my call, you sent me emails, you're on top of things, so to speak. Someone said, I called this rabbi, that rabbi, like 10, 12 different rabbis, the rabbinical courts, you're the only one that answered. So I don't know if that's good or bad, right? If I'm the only one that, I'm the only one that answered. So people say you make it way too easy. So my answer is most people, by the time they get to me, most people have come out of Christianity. Yeah, they've been lied to for however many years they've been in Christianity, right? So I don't have any doubts, or not too many doubts when I hear what they say. I don't have too many doubts that a lot of these people were legit. I found people that were less legitimate, they had different agendas. Okay, yeah, but in general, most people, they don't have an agenda. At least people I deal with, they don't necessarily have an agenda. Some do, but most people, most people don't. Most people come out of the church, see the lies of the church. Obviously Christianity, quote unquote, based on Judaism, so they're going to check the Old Testament. That's how they come to Torah, right? That's how most people come to Torah. Some go to be Messianic, some become Amish, some become Noahites, whatever. Right? But at the end of the day, that's really how it works. So they'll say, well, you make it too easy. So anyone's going to take my classes, they're going to know, right? They're going to know straight off that if you're not the real deal, you won't be able to listen. There's no way you'll be able to listen. I'm way too strong. Yeah. What I say comes out very strong. Rabbi's much stronger than me. I've heard other people speak stronger. Okay. Right. But at the end of the day, as we always say, King Solomon says in Proverbs, you got to want Torah more than diamonds, rubies, gold, silver. You got to want it. No one's going to hold your hand over here. Right. That's what someone has to understand. Now, does it have to be so hard? No. I'm not going to say it has to be, I'm not going to say it has to be, I'm not going to say it has to be so impossible, right? I'm not going, I'm not going that far. But I think sometimes people just want it to be easy. They wanted to be, find a community. It's not an easy thing we've spoken about. You're getting people to speak to. But why, what was the question? I'm going to just repeat the first part of the question. Right? The first part of the question is, why is it difficult to get anyone to talk to the Jewish community? Right? No matter where. No matter which Jewish community. Well, think about it. We've been persecuted. We've been burned, gassed. I've had, fake converts, different things. Any non-Jew wants to come in, really. No offense to any non-Jews out there. Any non-Jew wants to come in and really say, I want to be the real deal, and I want to convert. Being an Noahide, okay, but actually becoming a Jew, right? I gotta say, you gotta be, off your rocker. Why? Why do you have to be off your rocker? I grew up with it, didn't know much about it, learned more about, okay, I grew up with it. Any non-Jew coming in doesn't make rational sense, even though they'll say I came out of Christianity, right? And I learned, it was all false, and now I want to learn Torah, all that. If their soul, right, it's brought down that the soul of a convert was at Mount Sinai. It was a Jewish soul. How's a Jewish soul become a non-Jewish soul? Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. That's Kabbalah 101 or 101A. How does that change exactly? Right, good question. We're not going to deal with, right? But a non-Jew is not going to have an inkling of what Torah is or even want Torah. If their soul wasn't imbibed in it before. There's just no way, because it doesn't make, most of the Torah doesn't make logical sense. Imagine, example I always give is imagine during the morning service on Sukkot, during the intermediate days of the holidays Sukkot. So imagine that someone, comes in the synagogue, right? They come in the synagogue, and they're that part of the service where they're saying the Thanksgiving Psalms we always say on festive days, on Rosh Chodesh, the new month, on holidays. They walk in and they see people, they see people with their palm fronds, their lulav, right? They're living on steroids, their estro, you get your myrtle leaves, you got your willows, and they're shaking like this, and they're shaking like that, and they're shaking like. You're gonna say, like, what planet, did I just walk into over here, or did I just fall into? See, I grew up with it, I saw it, okay, didn't really know much about it, very good. Anyone coming in on the outside, especially what's going on, for the Jewish people throughout the millennium and all the pogroms and Holocaust and different things, you're really going to be a little bit wacko, right? In order to want to convert. Now, why do I say that? Why do I say that? You tell me you're wired a different way, right? Your soul was at Mount Sinai. Very good. Yeah, if it wasn't at Mount Sinai, it wouldn't make sense, rational, right? It doesn't matter intellectually, came out of Christianity, saw the falsehood, saw this, saw that, right? You come to Judaism, it's a whole different ballgame. It is a whole different ballgame, right? No, not compared to anything else. Not compared to anything else. It's got a lot more laws, and again, most of the things don't make sense logically. Probably 80% or more, right, of the Torah. So, and not only that, so I'll just throw out a statistic. Anyone who's ever come to a rabbinical court, even that are accepted as a conversion candidate, less than 20% actually finish. Right now, that could be for any number of reasons. That could be because, family issues. That could be they can't move. That could be financial. It could be, health. It could be any number of reasons. Any number of reasons. They could be very serious. Very, very serious. I've had people, I send them information, say, yeah, I'm really interested. I have a conversation with them, it's over. They're like, wow, I didn't know it was this intense. I didn't know this is what I had to do. Okay, right? A lot of people by that point, I would say it's the majority, by that point, said, yeah, I want to go further. Some people just don't know what they're in for. They have no idea that, yeah, I want to be a Jew. That's what I feel. It's what's in my soul. Okay. I'll give you credit for that. Very good. But you got to know what you're getting yourself into. And one of the things is that, as we always say, it can be a very lonely process. It can be an extremely lonely process, right? And the reason that it can be a lonely process is because it seems, it seems that what? But you'll say it doesn't have to be that hard, right? Doesn't have to be that hard. But the problem is, if you're in it by yourself, let's say you don't have a spouse or whatever, you're in it by yourself. It's a daunting task. Now, for a Jew, so it's easier because you're born a Jew, right? So you go to a Jewish community, you're welcome with open arms, right? In many ways, it's a lot easier, right? They don't think you have an ulterior motive. Yeah, no one's gonna think you're coming to missionize, right? A non-Jew comes in, it looks very strange, right? Now, I'm not saying everyone should be grilled. I mean, everyone should be grilled. Make sure that they're coming for the right reason, etc. They can also lie. They can also try and misrepresent and different things. Okay, right? So you got to make sure no one's going to infiltrate the Jewish community. That we got to make sure. But again, a lot of people flake out. Majority people flake out for any number of reasons. So the Jewish community is going to be leery. They're going to be leery. Not only that, I'm sure there are a number of Jewish communities out there in the world that have been burnt. They've been burnt by converts, in different ways. You have to keep in mind as well, a rabbinical court, they're going to sign off, right? If it's a proper candidate, right? They are going to sign off on the fact that they're saying that what? They're saying that, they want to be the real deal. But the reality is, we have to worry. We have to worry who's coming in. That the rabbinical court, again, if they're signing off on the person or whoever's converting, and that person turns around, and sins and does things that they shouldn't be doing, they're going to get judged. The rabbinical court also gets judged. They're going to get judged for taking on people they shouldn't have taken on. That's a huge responsibility. No question. Even someone, teaching people like that, it's also a big responsibility. Right? There's no question. So this is not, people think, oh, it's discrimination, this and that. This is, people are not aware. If you're not aware, you'll be aware now. This is a real serious decision. Yeah, not just on the person, on someone who's going to accept them. Someone's going to say they're legit. Right, 100%. That's, they should be a full-fledged Jew. That's a huge responsibility. So if they take their sweet time, I'm not saying just to waste anyone else's time, but if they're taking their time, there's good reason, because people flake out. It's not about discrimination. Oh, we don't want non-Jews, right? So I'll give you a parable. I'll give you a modern-day parable. The modern-day parable, as we mentioned before, is medical school, right? Medical school, what happens in the first year? In the first year, what happens? 30% get knocked out. 30%, 30% get knocked out in the first year. After that, what happens? And another 15% get knocked out. The second year, probably another 15% get knocked out. And after that, by the third year, whoever's there probably is going to make it to the end. Now, people are going to say that's not fair. Well, they have to memorize a lot of material, tremendous amount, of material. And someone's going to be a doctor. You want someone who knows the material. Yeah, someone who cracks under pressure, different things. You don't want to go to them. Obviously, they're not going to make it, right? So it's a process. It's a process where only the few survive. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, that's the process. That's what it is. If we're talking about spirituality, right? If we're talking about a case where it's about what we do and how we're judged and all these things, about real things, so to speak, that's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing, but someone has to be, they have to show, they have to demonstrate, that they're going to be the real deal. Now, you can say, I'm already serious, I've been doing this for years, this and that, okay. But someone from the outside doesn't know that. Or let's say better, someone from the inside, right? Jewish people don't know that. So now someone comes, I really want to convert, whatever. Person's got to show what they've done. Person coming off the street, I'm not going to say someone's going to laugh at them, not necessarily going to laugh at them, right? But they have to show, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, I'm ready to move, right? If they can move, or any of these things, they have to demonstrate. Because someone coming off the street, these people are dime a dozen. And the dime a dozen don't survive. The majority don't survive. Now, back to the original question. And that is, okay, it's fine. It's difficult to find anyone to talk to. Now, people are busy. Rabbis are busy day and night, dealing with people's issues, dealing with Jews, educating them, counseling them. It could be a full-time job, even though, probably a lot of them are not paid. They have to have another job, right? Because they're not paid enough. Okay. Yeah. So they're super busy. So busy with their other jobs, so busy with this. A non-Jew comes along, a person's going to find out the easy way and the hard way. Yeah, you're going to find out, either the rabbi himself doesn't know how to deal with non-Jews, which is a lot of people, which, they're not say trained for that. Okay. But at the same time, they don't have, they don't have time. They don't have a whole curriculum. They don't have, some people do, right? Some places, they'll teach classes for converts. A lot of places not. Right? Why not? That's not part of their infrastructure. Whether it should be or not, that's a discussion. Right? That's a discussion we could have. Whether it should be or not. Doesn't matter. Point is, majority don't. I know someone who was much older, wanted to marry a Jew, but was serious about conversion. And this person was taking classes in a certain synagogue. Now, the classes they were taking, took a class in Jewish history. They took a class in Mishna Hebrew, and there's one other class. There's one other class that had benefit. I don't know if the laws of Shabbos or kashrus or whatever. It was one. Basically, they were taking 3 or 4 classes. One class had relevance for conversion. So I told them, that, first of all, most synagogues are not set up for this. But here you get a whole bunch of classes, right? One of the classes also was Tanya, by the way. So, class is not set up for that. But I said, think about it. If you would stay by a synagogue for a long time, take 150,000 years to convert. I said, yeah, they probably want me to die first before I convert. I said, it could be, I don't know. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, most places not interested in doing this. Not interested in setting up things for non-Jews. Now, you might, again, first I'm going to say, it's discriminatory, it's not fair. Who are we looking out for? We're looking out for Jews. Jews come first, right? No question. I heard someone say, the reason a lot of people get turned off, especially Noahites, right, is because we don't deal with them right. So if we don't deal with them right, it's a problem. I agree. They should be dealt with properly. If you think a lot of rabbis don't want to deal with converts, they certainly don't want to deal with Noahites. Now, why don't they want to deal with Noahites? Right? And a Noahide, someone, keeps the 7 Noahide laws, which are universal laws. Don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't do idolatry. There are about 50, 60 laws, let's say all together. But essentially, they can learn Tanakh, they can learn Jewish history, Jewish philosophy, other things. Right? They're limited in what they can do when it comes to holidays and Shabbos and different things. But by Noahides, what's the obvious question? What's the rabbi going to ask them? Why don't you convert? So someone could say, I like to eat shrimp, I don't want to convert. I like doing other things. I don't, why should I convert? Right? Do they have an obligation to convert? No. No one says they have an obligation to convert. Some will say, I want to because of this, because of that, because of the other thing, whatever it is. But if a lot of rabbis don't necessarily know how to deal with converts, they're certainly not going to know how to deal with Noahides that don't want to convert, because that looks even stranger. Because here they want to learn, be part of things, but they don't want to convert. So like, so someone would ask them why. Why would you do that? Not because you don't have as many rituals and there aren't communities and all these different things. That's all true, right? There are limitations, right? There are things that wouldn't make sense in different ways, to be a Noahide. Yeah, there are limitations. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to convert, right? Definitely does not mean, you have to convert, but somebody will say, come on, if it goes that far, if a person's already like so interested in this and that, so convert. So what would the non-Jew say? I don't want to convert. My spouse doesn't want to convert. I can't move. I got health reasons, got, any number of reasons why they don't have to convert, why they don't want to convert. They don't have to. They'll still have a portion of the world to come, right? And there's plenty for them what to learn. I tell people I keep them busy for the next 250 years, even if they don't convert. What do you want to learn? Tanakh. You got the 5 books of Moses, you got the Torah, you got Tanakh, you got the writings, the prophets, Jewish philosophy, Jewish history, plenty what to learn. Plenty what to learn. Yeah, someone here asked, I want to take a few questions here before I get to the second part of this question. Someone asks, what am I advised be to a lonely Noahide? There are communities online. You're not going to find, problem is, right, that, a lot of people who are Noahides, they're all over the place, right? They're all spread out. There are no communities. Now, I've heard some people say you should never make a Noahide community. Yeah. Like, you don't want to have quasi-Jews. So, okay. So there won't be quasi-Jews. Yeah. You don't cross the line. It's possible. It's possible. You're going to find enough people. You're going to find enough people, in that community that want it. The problem is they're all spread out, right? So the best thing or the next best thing to having, people, near you. I had someone tell me, they're Noahide somewhere, and like the closest Noahide to them is like 300 miles. Like I just like to go out, get a cup of coffee, whatever, get something to eat, schmooze, whatever. And they're very spread out. So the next best thing, if there's no community, which there are very few, if any, in the world, is what do you do? What do you do? It's a lonely process, right? There are online communities. There, all you have to do is go on Facebook and and Google, Noahide. There are a number of online communities. How active they are, I can't say. Probably some are more active than others. So someone I mentioned live in a very anti-Semitic country. That's it's you want to be around like-minded people. Yeah, it makes sense, right? That's why Noahides should probably live in a community that is, within striking distance of a Jewish community. Striking distance means like an hour away, maybe a couple hours away, right? But that's better. So we should have some sort of contact, with the Jewish community. Being isolated, very hard. Even for what I call JIT, a Jew in training, they want to keep the mitzvahs that they're obligated to keep, as a Jew, and they're living in the middle of nowhere. That can also be very hard, extremely hard. Especially, you're by yourself, trying to do things on your own. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have a sense of community, right? So finding a community, certainly for a JIT, a Jew in training, pretty important. Right? Doesn't mean you can't take classes, before a person moves, right? But for Noahide, there aren't so many options. There aren't so many options. So there are online communities. Definitely are online communities. Again, I would say an online community is second best. It's second best. That's what it is. It's not the same as being with people and this and that. And also, you live in a place where, let's say, you live in a place where it's mostly Christian, right? It's also just as bad, right? You have that and anti-Semitism at the same time. Yeah, it's it's a very hard thing. Not only that, people around you. What's the main thing is, let's say it's a church and you don't go to church. They want to, you don't believe in JC, like, brings up a lot of things. Like, oh, you're a Jew lover? I can understand. Be definitely uncomfortable. Somebody here asks, oh, I did a conservative conversion. Can I help you with the Orthodox conversion? That's what I do. Exactly what I do. I give classes on the laws of blessings, kashrus, 13 principles of faith, all the holidays. Right? You can look at my page, orthodoxconversion.com. Send me an email. Rabbi Chaim Kaufman at gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman at gmail.com. And I can send you some information on that. Let me see. Yeah, so let me get the second part of this question now. Second part of this question is a question that comes up quite a bit also, and the question is there a very real possibility I could lose my job if you used to work on Shabbos? Right? If you used to work on Saturday, what advice can I give? And is that a test? So when the Jews came to America from Europe, beginning of the 20th century, the biggest test they had certainly for religious Jews was they were coming to a new country. And basically in the new country, they said either you work on Shabbos, right? Or you find another job. So many, many people, gave up. They said it was too hard, right? It was too hard to make a living, right? So they gave in and desecrated Shabbos. Others kept Shabbos, they'd take a new job every week. But the other problem was that they said it's very hard to be a Jew. And their kids would hear that. Their kids would hear how hard it is to be a Jew. They didn't want any part of it. Right? So Shabbos as a Jew, you have to keep it. So you're going to find a job. It's going to accommodate that. Now, there is discrimination. The person says, listen, I have to have, I have to leave early on Friday and, I can't work on Saturday. Or what about Jewish holidays? Passover comes out in the middle of the week. Or let's say, even better, Passover come out, let's say, on a Wednesday, or the holiday of Sukkot would come out on a Wednesday. So if you live outside of Israel, the holiday is Wednesday to Thursday, it's 2 days. Wednesday to Thursday, Thursday to Friday, then you get Shabbos, right? So you get 3 days, right? So you got to take off that time. I had somebody tell me they made a very important meeting they can't get out of. This is a Jew in training. Yeah, they made a very important meeting for the first day of Sukkot. They couldn't get out of it. There's no possible way for them to get out of it. So they asked me, I can't believe I did this. How could I have done that? Whatever. So they asked me advice. So I said, I'm going to give you a free piece of advice. I said, my free piece of advice is buy a Jewish calendar. Go to get on a mailing list of a Jewish cemetery or whatever. Buy yourself a Jewish calendar. How could you make an appointment in September or October and not look at a Jewish calendar when the holidays fall out? Right? You're going to have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah everywhere in the world. You're going to have Yom Kippur. You're going to have the holiday of Sukkot, which is 7 days. Now, the intermediate days, you could work. You could really work. Right? The first 2 days, the last 2 days, you can't work outside of Israel. Right? And obviously on Shabbos, so you have to take that time off. You have to get it off. Right? There's no other way. So this person wasn't expecting my answer. I basically slaughtered them. I said, you want to be a Jew? How do you not know when holidays you can't work on come out? How do you not know that? This wasn't someone who just started learning about Judaism. This is someone who's been been learning about Judaism for a number of years. Also, they were married to a Jew at the time. Yeah. Yeah. So what are you talking about? How do you not know the holidays come up like that? I basically called them a fool. Not directly. Well, I said, how could you not know that? How could you not have a Jewish calendar and know that? In September and October, you have no idea that the holiday can come up? You got to look at the calendar. Yeah. But I can't get out of it. I said, it's a good thing you're not Jewish. You're not Jewish. That's what you got to do. You got to go to this meeting. You got to go to work. You can't take it off. Right? It's your own fault. Right? That's what I told them. They weren't too happy to hear that. But I said, you did it to yourself. There's no way out of it. Buy a Jewish calendar. Or find a Jewish calendar. Go online and see when the holidays come out. That's what you got to do. Right? But that would be 100% be discrimination here. Right? In other words, if they're going to say, and I've had this happen, people have told me, almost had to write letters for people because, if you're a non-Jew in the process, they're going to say you're not Jewish. They're going to say you're not Jewish. Right? So why do you have to get off early on Friday? Not only that, let's say there are secular Jews that work there. They say they don't take off time. They don't take off time for holidays. So why do you have to take off time? You're not even Jewish. Yeah. So would I say a non-Jew has to do that? No. They can work on those holidays. They don't have an issue with it, or on Shabbos, because they're not Jewish. Right? But at some point, they're going to have to tell the employer, I'm not doing this. Right? They're going to have to tell the employer, I can't work on Saturday. Right? Or on these other holidays. The other holidays, fine. You want to take sick days, you can take them off. Right? What do they say? You have to, what do they say? You have to come in on Friday. You have to stay late Friday. It means you're going to desecrate Shabbos. Let's say Shabbos comes in early, right? In the winter, right? They're going to say, you're going to be there till, an important thing, going to be there till 5:30. What do you mean? That's, Shabbos already came in at 4, at 4:30, right? Can they fire you for that? I mean, that's discrimination. That 100% is religious discrimination. Yeah, certainly if you're in the States, that, you could fight that. You could fight that. You'd say, why fight? Just find another job. Yeah, okay. Right? You try and do that also. But they could use that as an argument. Say, listen, you're not Jewish. You're not Jewish. So, rabbis can write letters. They can definitely write letters, and say this person brought the conversion. They have to keep Shabbos. You don't have to tell them that, you have to break Shabbos anyway, on purpose. You don't have to go that far, right? Tell them they can't work on Shabbos, right? Or they have to, they have to leave early on Friday, right? There should be dispensation for that. So you can tell your employer, listen, okay, I'll work on Sunday. I'll work other times. I'll make it up. I'll stay extra hours to make it up. If they still say no, you have to work on Shabbos, then again, doesn't mean you can't work on Shabbos here, right? You're a non-Jew. You could work on Shabbos. As a Jew, you can't do that. Right? So if you would convert, then you have to find another job. So I would tell you. So the question, the first part of that question is, one second. The first part of the question, first part of the question, is that is that part of the test, right? Or second part of the question, right? Second part of the question was, I'll just bring it up here because I think I just erased it. One second. So the question was, is there a real possibility you could lose your job? I mean, in theory, again, that's discrimination we mentioned. If a person refuses to work on Saturday, yeah. Now, is that a test? Yeah. That is a major test, no question. Right? Because if a person wants to be a Jew, he can't work on Shabbos. Can't work on Shabbos. No matter how much they're going to pay you, whatever it is, person has an obligation not to work on Shabbos. So if it doesn't work out now, say, listen, you have to work on Shabbos. So you have to work on Shabbos. But as a Jew, can't. So you try and nip it in the bud if you've been in this job at a long time, you try and tell them, listen, I'm in the process of conversion. I can't work on Saturday, and try and see if you can make some sort of compromise. Either stay later during the rest of the week, every day stay a little bit later, make up the time, or whatever. If there's no dispensation, they say, listen, this is part of the job, this is what you have to do. So as a non-Jew, it's fine. Non-Jew, you don't have any issues. Yeah, but at the same time, you should be looking for another job that you can be able to work on Shabbos. But you have to tell them, whatever job, either with that job or with a different job, you have to tell them at the outset, 100%, you cannot work on Shabbos. Right? It's a religious thing. That's what you're doing. You cannot work on, Shabbos. They have to know that at the outset. And if they say, well, that's part of the job, but, if they can accommodate you in different ways, so that'd be the best. You work extra hours during the week, you make up the time. Or you come in on Sunday, you make up the time. Or however you make up the time, if they're willing to do that, that's good. Right? But all the other times, all the other holidays, again, Rosh Hashanah, you have to take off for 2 days. First days of Sukkot, last 2 days of Sukkot, you have to take off. right? 2 days of Shavuos you have to take off, right? You can't work, period, right? So those are holidays I just mentioned. Yom Kippur, you can't work. So you got Shabbos comes up every week. And you got, again, the first 2 days of Sukkot, the last 2 days of Sukkot, the first 2 days of Passover, the last 2 days of Passover, and 2 days of Shavuot. So that's 2, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8. It's like 10 days. It's like 10 days altogether, right? 10 days altogether. Intermediate days, if you have to work, you could. Not so simple, but you definitely could. So therefore, therefore the intermediate days, let's say Passover, Sukkot, you could work. But the first 2 days, last 2 days, and both holidays, you can't. Right? It's about 10 days altogether. So, yeah, you have to take them off as sick days. Right? There's no other, the other way. And Shabbos, same thing. Somebody asked, 1 second here. 1 second. Somebody asks, where am I? How do we do Mishach Manos? I'm going to speak about that next week in my class on conversion. For poor, do you just hand it personally to someone? So Mishach Manos means the end of the book of Esther speaks about that this is going to be a holiday for all generations, right? And it speaks about giving food gifts, right, to your friends. How do you do that? So people come up with all kinds of themes, trying to outdo, everybody else. I don't know, but whatever it is, you give 2 different foods. 2 different foods that are readily edible. A friend of mine would give out a sandwich, with like a drink. Some people give out, let's say, cookies, and so I've heard some people say they should be different blessing categories. Like, you give out shako for drinks or mizonos for cookies. No source. That there's no source for, right? But you give 2 different things, right? You give at least 2 different things. You give let's say, chocolate and candy, right? Or chocolate and, I don't know, potato chips, or, something give out like, small bottles of grape juice or soda or whatever. So how do you fulfill the obligation? So you fulfill the obligation by giving it to someone, right? Directly giving it to. A lot of times, we're stringent. We don't necessarily give it direct. We usually send it with a messenger, but you can give it direct. It's not a problem, right? So you can give it directly to someone else. Now, if Purim comes out on Shabbos, yeah, that's a problem. That is a problem. First of all, you don't read the Megillah. You don't read the book of Esther. You don't read the book of Esther. You could have, let's say, so even if that would be the case, you can't give shalach manos, right? You cannot give these food gifts on Shabbos, right? Even if you could carry, some say if you're in a place where there's an eruv and you actually could carry. So yeah, if Purim would come out on Shabbos, but you have the meal, you don't have it on Shabbos, you do it the next day. And really, Shalach Manos is the next day. But if that day falls out on Purim, so yeah, some people are stringent. They would give food gifts, even on Shabbos. That's only if you have an eruv. If you don't have an eruv, you can't do it. Right? It's no possible way. To do that. But you don't read the Megillah. You don't read the book of Esther. Just like on Shabbos, you don't blow the shofar. Right? What if Rosh Hashanah comes out on Shabbos? So even if it's the first day of Rosh Hashanah, you read it on the second day. Sorry, you blow it on the second day, right? My Rabbi spoke about this, and he said that you're going to see how the year goes, because this year Rosh Hashanah was on Shabbos, so you couldn't blow the shofar on the first day, right? So some of the commentaries say, since you can't blow the shofar on the first day, it can be a tremendous time of judgment. Because what does blowing the shofar do? Brings about God's compassion, right? That's what it does. It brings about God's compassion. So my Rabbi said last year, right before Rosh Hashanah, see what kind of year this is going to be, because it can be very dangerous, because this is the power of blowing the shofar. that the first day you don't blow the shofar. Because the first day you don't blow the shofar, you have to see how the year's going to go. You have to see how the year's going to go, because it can be a very, very dangerous time, even if you blow the shofar on the second day. And what happened after Rosh Hashanah on October 7th? Yeah. So the reason you don't blow the shofar, again, is because maybe you're going to take the shofar in a public place, right, where you're not allowed to carry, and you're going to teach someone how to blow the shofar. So same thing by Book of Esther. Same thing. We're worried a person's going to bring it, in a public thoroughfare, which you're not allowed to carry, from a public to a private domain or vice versa, if you don't have an Eruv. So what's going to happen? You transgress the Torah prohibition, right? So you don't read the Book of Esther either. You don't read the Book of Esther on Shabbos. You don't read it. You don't read it then, and also you don't fast on Shabbos except when it's Yom Kippur. So this year, very interesting. The 13th of Adar, when we're supposed to fast, right? The fast of Esther. When does that come out? Shabbos. We don't fast. When do we fast? The earliest possible day is Thursday. You're going to say, why don't you fast the day before? Because you're not allowed to fast on Friday. You have to come in, you're not supposed to come into Shabbos, very hungry. The only time actually that we would fast as a minor fast, meaning the sun up to sundown fast, is on the 10th of Tavis. 10th of Tavis is a fast during the winter, the 10th day of the month of Tavis, which is usually in the middle of winter. So that fast can come up on a Friday. It's the only fast besides Yom Kippur, only minor fast that can come on a Friday. Now, what's the reason we'd fast? What would be the reason we would fast on Friday? Because the prophet says, when he speaks about the fast days, and he speaks about the 10th of Tavis, on that, it said, the verse says explicitly, on that day. So what does on that day mean? On that day means even if it's Friday. Tell me, really, you shouldn't fast on Friday, right? We don't fast on Friday. True. But the fact is, since that is a minor fast day, so the fact is, again, it's the only minor fast day that falls on a Friday. But the fact is that the prophet says, guess what? It's on that day, whenever that day comes. So that day, when does it come? Friday. If it comes out on Friday, it doesn't come out every Friday, obviously, but if it comes out on Friday, you got to fast on Friday also. It's very strange. It was, that you're busy doing Shabbos preparations and other things, and you're fasting at the same time. Yeah, it is, it's a little bit strange. Then you're breaking the fast on chicken soup and chicken and whatever, right? So, yeah, it's kind of a hard thing, but again, that's the only day. It's the only minor fast day that would come out on, that would come out on Friday. So, yeah. So the question here, the question is, let's just really keep this open. Is that a test? Is working on Shabbos a test? Yep. Yeah. People think mistakenly that if they don't work on Shabbos, let's say they have their own business, right? We'll make it easy. Yeah, let's say they have their own business. They don't work on Shabbos. What's going to happen? They'll lose. People will go to other shops or whatever your business is, and you lose. So let's make a very radical statement here. And the radical statement is, if God could sustain you in 7 days, I bet the same God could probably sustain you in 6 days. Yeah. In other words, he can take care of your needs either way. And even, let's say, the month of, September, October, you're gonna miss time. You have to miss time, right? Because of all the holidays, you never lose. The holidays aren't cheap either, right? You get your 4 species on Sukkot. You go the cheap way, or you beautify the mitzvah. It costs, building a sukkah you can build from anything, right? Almost from anything. So that's not going to cost a lot, right? The 4 species could cost, but think about it. You got 7 days. 7 days where, the first 2 days you have to have 2 meals. 2 meals, one at night, one during the day. right? The last day, same thing. Intermediate days, you have nicer meals than you normally have. Say, go bankrupt. Yeah, you could. It's not a cheap time. Passover is even worse, right? Passover is even worse because everything's 3 times the price or more, because it's kosher for Passover. So, a person could go broke that way as well. So, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, life in general, as we've spoken about many times, life in general is a test, 100%. Everything we do is a test. Either we're going to go up or we're going to go down. There's nothing, in between. But, where do the biggest tests probably come? Probably either by livelihood, that's probably one of the biggest tests, or by health. Family's also a big test, but, maybe it could be bigger than these other two. But I think health-wise and livelihood-wise are 2 huge tests. If a person has health issues, in general, right? It's hard to sing and dance and be happy with your lot when you can't get out of bed, or like you got fatigue, or other things. Or a person, let's say, has chronic issues, or different things. Or if a person's struggling financially, it can also be very hard. Also very hard. You got bills to pay, you have no idea where money's coming from. And that's a huge test. All right. So I tell people, I would tell people that one of the best books to buy, to understand this better, is Duties of the Heart. Duties of the Heart, I give a class every week, on that. But the gate of Emunah B'tachon, Shar B'tachon, the gate of having proper faith and belief in God, is a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. It's an absolutely different way of looking at the world, of how we're supposed to see things. I'll give one example. Chovos HaLevavos there says that we have an obligation to do hishtadlus. What does hishtadlus mean? I got to put my best foot forward. Whatever I do, right? I own the business, I work for someone, whatever it is, I got to do the job to the best of my ability. Okay. Now, even if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing to the best of my ability, does that mean the person's going to make a lot of money? No. Now, if you're in a field doesn't make a lot of money anyway, okay. But it's going to be a constant struggle. That's one thing. Yeah. But let's say you're doing what everyone else is doing and you're struggling. You put your best foot forward. Putting your best foot forward, remember one thing. There's a big X factor, right? Huge X factor. Who's the X factor? It's God himself. Meaning, when I put my best foot forward, is that a guarantee? Is that a guarantee for success? And what's the answer? It's not a guarantee. 100%, it's not a guarantee. Why? Because the person has to realize, no matter what they do, if God doesn't bless it, ain't nothing happening. Right? You can huff and puff, you ain't going to blow the house down, right? Nothing's going to happen. Nothing, those 3 little pigs, by the way. Nothing's going to happen here. It won't happen. Why? Because God doesn't bless it. Now, you could do other things, and then through the back door, you didn't expect this, you didn't expect that, you didn't expect the other thing. Why did this happen? Right? Why did this happen? Because God blessed it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's from where you did it. That's a mistake. A person thinks, well, I did this, and I did that, and I did the other thing. You didn't do anything. Right? You didn't do anything. I know a story that, someone's business turns around, in different ways, for someone that they haven't spoken to, let's say, in 15 years. 15 years. They haven't had a conversation with this person. And then this person, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere, out of the blue, walks in the door. Now, they're struggling financially. Yeah? They're struggling financially. Person comes in and says, oh, I get enough material and things for, X amount every month. Out of nowhere. So you're going to say, well, the person got lucky. No. Why did it happen now? I can't answer. Well, this person, this person said, the last time I spoke to this person was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah. So now that, and it didn't happen exactly the way that, this person thought was going to happen, but, it manifests itself in different ways, in a tremendously positive way. Yeah, totally unexpected. So what's the mantra? Always. The mantra is, God, you're the one in charge. You are the one in charge. That's it. What I do in even putting my best foot forward is not a guarantee for success. Now, people would say, oh, you got to advertise like this, you got to do that, you got to do other things. That's why you're not successful. Okay, so let's say you do all that, right? Let's say that would be the case, right? And, you do all that, you do what you're supposed to do. Very good. Yeah. Other people, let's say are making money that way. And for whatever reason, you're not. Or you're not making as much or whatever. So there's something else going on. Because if you're doing the same thing, then all things being equal, it should be like that. But as people forget, there's a major X factor. Putting your best foot forward, you have to. That's the obligation. Yeah. Success from it and getting things answered for what you did, no guarantee. People think, well, I did this, I did that. You must have done something wrong. Because if you didn't do anything wrong, there's no rhyme or reason why. There is a rhyme and reason why it didn't go, because God didn't want it to go. That's why it didn't go. Otherwise, you have no other explanation. Rational explanation. You say, oh, you always live with God in this day. Yeah, because there's nothing else out there. There's nothing else out there. Because if you put your best foot forward and nothing goes, there's something else going on. There is something else going on. What's happened to me when I was involved in real estate is doing the same thing as everyone else. People were making money, and I wasn't. So I called up my Rabbi and said, you must have a block in heaven, do this, do that, and then get back to me and tell me what happened. Yeah. I did what he told me to do. I told the people I was doing it in front of that, this is what he told me to do. I can't tell you until afterwards. And 2 weeks later, I call him back, like the heavens opened. I didn't close the deal, but there were a lot of things going on. So I said out the rough note. He said, because if you're doing the same thing everyone else is, and everyone else is making money, you're not, there's something else going on. There's a spiritual block somewhere, which you help take off. But there's some sort of spiritual block. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense, logically. Again, you're not going off the rails here. You are doing, there's a proven method. It's a proven method. If it's a proven method, and you're doing the exact same thing, and this can work in any country, in any state, or anywhere else, then why didn't it work by you? It works everywhere. Why didn't it work by you? So what's the obvious answer someone's going to say? You must have done something wrong. You didn't follow the protocol. You didn't do everything you were supposed to do. Not true. I followed to a T. I went on, started doing my own thing after that. But I'm saying, before that, I followed it to a T. Why shouldn't it work? It should work everywhere. Should. There's no market that it shouldn't work. So there's something else going on. So you're putting your best foot forward. Yeah. And I'd listen once a week. This real estate guy would take questions once a week. These people are closing this deal, closing that deal. And I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, these are not road scholars. They are not road scholars by any stretch at all. I'm being generous here. I'm not saying they're stupid by any, either. But I wasn't so impressed by what a lot of these people had to say. Even so, they're doing better than me. They're closing things that aren't getting closed. I'm like, there's something wrong here. There's something that doesn't make sense logically. So the Chovos HaLevavos says, I didn't learn the Chovos HaLevavos said, right? Or a number of years later. But in Duties of the Heart, known as Chovos HaLevavos, right? In Duties of the Heart, what does he say? You're putting your best foot together, right? You're putting your best foot forward. Putting your best foot forward is not a guarantee for success. You're going to tell me, but it should be. It doesn't matter whether it should be or not. What's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? You need to be blessed. And if God doesn't bless it, no matter how many times you put your best foot forward, you try this, you try that, you try the other thing, which you're obligated to do. You're obligated to put your best foot forward. If it doesn't go, why didn't it go? Not because you didn't follow protocol. Not because you don't have good customer service. Not because of anything else. You did everything you should have done. Even more, maybe. Yeah? So what happened? Didn't get blessed. So if it doesn't get blessed, no matter what you do. Does not matter at all. So you have to remember. You always have to remember there's a big X factor. The big X factor is God himself. Right? Person can put minimal effort in and God, helps them. Or you put effort in one place, and guess what? You get help from somewhere else you never expected. Rabbi tells this story. The yeshiva was in dire straits, and the head of the yeshiva told him to go out, try and collect money. So he used the yeshiva money to, to cabs, go to, people's houses. There were some people just slammed the door in his face. Some people said, they should get real jobs, do other things. Some people wouldn't even open the door. He came back. Not only did he make any money, but he also used the yeshiva's money as well. He didn't make anything. So next day, the yeshiva wants to see him. He's like, I'm in big trouble here. And the yeshiva says, I want to give you a big thank you. I want to give you a big yasher koach. I want to thank you. He goes, thank you? What are you talking about? It cost the yeshiva money. I didn't make anything. He says, what are you talking about? He said, we just got a donation. We're going to be good for the next few months. Someone just gave a very nice sized donation. We're good for the next 2 months. So Rabbi said, what does that have to do with me? I put my best foot forward. I got nothing. So then the yeshiva said, what are you, a heretic? He said, you a heretic? You got to do your shtadlus. You got to put your best foot forward. But that doesn't mean where the salvation is going to come. The salvation can come from somewhere else. You don't expect it. But the fact that you put your best foot forward, salvation can come from anywhere. Right? But you put it into motion. You went out there, put it into motion, and salvation came from somewhere else. So you putting it into motion brought the shepherd, brought the heavenly influence over here, to be able to make the money, to be able to, get someone to donate in such a big way. Because he thought, what my cashier, what's the connection? There's no connection to what I did in bringing in the money. He said, just the opposite. You put your best foot forward. He said, what do you think? I thought you were going to save the yeshiva? I said, come on, 15 years old, 16 years old. I'm expecting you're going to go to people and they're going to give you all this money. I didn't expect that. You got to put your best foot forward. But that doesn't mean the success is coming from that. That's the difference. Right? Doesn't mean that. It can come from somewhere else you least expected. I've heard from other people. I've seen it in my own life. No question. Shuas Hashem K'Arvayin. The salvation of God comes with the blink of an eyelash. And guess what? Where you least expected. Absolutely where you least expected. Now, you got to put your best foot forward. Everyone agrees. Everybody agrees. You got to put your best foot forward. No question. Yeah. That's where I'm going to get help from. That's going to bring the salvation? No, not necessarily. It might. Yeah. But it might come from a place, you never would have thought of. And a lot of times we get it, we should chuckle here. We say, okay, that's the way you want to do it. Okay. You do it many ways. Many, many ways. God has a lot of messengers. Tremendous amount of messengers. Yeah. So he gives them the salvation in 100,000 different ways, and all of them you probably never would have thought of. You never would have thought of. Not because your mind's not open, your mind's not clear, because you didn't expect it. You would never expect such a thing. Right? I've had students tell me, it's happened in my own life. This is a very common thing. A very, very, I just heard someone speak about it recently. Same thing. Same exact thing. He said, when you least expect it. Yeah. Because it's not going to happen the way you think. Never. It's not going to happen the way you think. Maybe once in a blue moon it happened the way you thought. Maybe. Yeah. In general, who comes into our lives, how we make connections, different things, right? Sometimes you think about it, it seems haphazard. You say, no, I meant this one and this thing happened and that thing. But when you connect the dots, you're going to say, really? This is the way it happened? This is the way it went down? I remember, I had my own learning institution, I had my own call. So I once spoke. I said, everyone sitting here today has the whole story how they got here. Yeah. And everybody's story is different. Some may be a little bit similar, but I said, everyone has a different story. Yeah. So if you connect the dots of how you got here, they're all different. But at the end of the day, God wanted this group to be here at this time for whatever reason. But everyone's got a totally different story. So, it's the same thing in our lives. If we try and connect the dots, I was here, I was there, this happened, that happened. I've heard many times. So I made, a number of videos on this. That people said, I was praying, I wanted someone to teach me and someone this, and then all of a sudden they saw my video. Or all of a sudden they saw this and this popped up, or, whatever. Yeah. So what does the Gemara say? The Gemara says, if you want to go in the right direction, God is going to help you. If you want to go in the wrong direction, God will not stop you. Now, what does that mean? If a person from the depth of the heart says, I want help, and I want to get, to the end, I want to become a Jew, I have no idea, what should I do? How do I go about it? God's going to help you. Now, you might waste time in other ways. It might not get directly what you need. You might go around in circles a few times. But if someone's really, really serious from the depth of their heart, they'll get the help. They'll get the right help. Yeah, that doesn't have to be me. Could be other people also. I'm just saying that, as we said, King Solomon said, you got to want it more than anything else. But I've heard it many, many, many times. That could be your worst nightmare also, right? But I've heard many, many times. All of a sudden you sent me a text. All of a sudden I saw this video. All of a sudden, whatever. And I prayed on it. Yeah. God answered your prayers or answered your worst nightmare. But why? Why? Because he saw from the depths of the heart that a person was serious. And because they're serious, they say, listen, just help me. Just send someone in my direction that can actually help me. And then they see my face. Beautiful. Yeah. Doesn't always work out that way, but I'm saying it's, if you want it, if a person wants it bad enough, there will be help. There will be help, in that way, right? There will be help. If, a person's going to joke around and this and that, different answer, right? It's a different issue. Someone never said, heard the Vilna Gaon, memorize Tanakh by heart. I'll tell you a story about the Vilna Gaon. Vilna Gaon, one of his famous Talmidim, one of his famous students was Rav Chaim of Volozhin. The whole yeshiva system today is set up based on the system in the yeshiva in Volozhin. And someone asked Rav Chaim of Volozhin, what's the difference between your brother? He had a brother that was also an unbelievable genius. So he said, what's the difference between your brother and the Vilna Gaon? Yeah, so he says, my brother, he said, could tell you, the Gemara by heart from beginning to end. The Vilna Gaon could tell you the Gemara by heart from the end to the beginning. It's a big difference. Yeah, if you're going straight from, from this page to that page to the other page, but if you're going backwards, a little more difficult. So someone asks, then they heard the Vilna Gaon knew Tanakh by heart. He probably knew just about everything by heart. Yeah, also wrote a commentary on Kabbalah at a very young age, as well. Vilna Gaon, totally different soul over here. He knew Tanakh by heart. It's a good thing to know a lot of things by heart. Yeah, it's a good thing to pursue. Why not? When I was one of the first tractates I learned from cover to cover, the first Talmudic tractate. So I thought to myself, there are people that know the Talmud backwards and forwards. They can do the pin test. What's the pin test? They put a pin through one page. You have to say what's on the next page. Fill in the next word on the next page. That's how well they know it. So I said, let's see if this is possible. Let's say even by me. Even by me, is that possible? That's something that's possible. So what I did was every night, the issue is, I said, okay, let me see if I can do it. So at night, every, let's say for half an hour, 45 minutes, I would review what I learned. And then I would review it again. And then even when I went further, I'd review it again. Right? So over time, I'd seen the same piece of Talmud numerous times. So at one point, I got to know, let's say, the first 3 chapters of this tractate almost by heart. Give or take, almost by heart. It's doable. You got to work at it, but it's doable. Then you don't have to recollect anything. It's all there, right? But you have to keep going over and over and review. People don't necessarily like to review, right? But it definitely is doable. I'd read Shar B'Tachon, yes. With Rav Victor Miller's commentary, yes. Very good book to go through, right? Very good. I mean, it's part of Chomos V'Vavos. I think it's a game changer. I think that book, Duties of the Heart, definitely a game changer, as well as Derech Hashem, the Way of God, also a game changer. And the reason Derech Hashem, I would say by the Ramchal, by Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, a blessed memory, is because it talks about why God created the world, the purpose of man, what the world looked like before Adam and Eve sinned, spiritual forces, suffering, evil inclination, purpose of the nations. It's a hard book to go through because it's a lot of it is, it's Kabbalah. I did give class on this a number of times, but at the end of the day, it changes the way we think. Definitely changes the way we think. Somebody here asks, all right, let me see. Many rabbis telling Jews to get out of America and in England. Yeah. What about us? We decided to move to Israel? Process long. Yeah, there are people saying that. There is writing on the wall. I heard people say this for a number of years, especially by COVID, that, it's going to be a dangerous place. I mean, it's a dangerous place now, for Jews in America. I don't think, Jews in Europe as well. I don't think there's any question. Somebody asked, but the thing is, the process is long. Right, so what? Let me ask, I'll ask a different question. Right, I'm always good at answering a question with a question. Even it would be a long, arduous process. Would you rather live in a place where you don't know, you walk out the door, you don't know if you're coming back because of all the anti-Semites? What's better? It's a hard process. What do you call it? Even if it's hard, what's the alternative? Right? A lot of bad things going on in America. I agree. I don't think Europe's free of it. I think Europe's got a lot of issues also. Right? But at the end of the day, even a person learned the law, come here, let's say it takes another 2 years to convert, a year to convert, a year and a half to convert, whatever it is. Yeah, it's a problem. People have to make a living here. It's hard to make a living here. But, it's hard to live here in general. You get all the problems with the Arabs and, there are other things. Only a few of the problems, right? But, is the writing on the wall? Could very well be. Anti-Semitism at all-time high, even before it happened on October 7th. But you see what's going on now. It's whatever. It's pretty scary, but, anti-Semitism is on the rise as well. Like COVID, certainly on the rise. Yeah, no question. Now it's, at a totally different level. So I would ask the question, what's the better alternative? If the writing's on the wall, it's going to, it's a very dangerous place and this and that. So what if it takes you so long? You're in a safer place. You're in a much safer place. People think, what would happen on October 7th? You got the Arabs, you got missiles, you got this, you got that. It's still a safer place. I don't think there's any question. Yeah. Most places in Israel, 10, 11 o'clock at night, you can go out, no problem. No problem, even for women. Yeah, it's a much safer place. Much, much safer place. In religious areas in Israel, there's no theft. There's no muggings. No petty crimes. No big crimes in general. Right? Much safer. I would ask people, say, oh, it's so dangerous there. I said, okay, you live in X city or closer. Would you ever go out there at 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night? They're like, no. They think suburbs are safer. Okay. But I don't think a parent wants his kid out that late. Dangerous place. It's a dangerous place. No question. I'm talking, I'm not talking just today. 20 years ago more. Well, same thing. Things are just, way out of control. Way out of control now. So again, even if you would say it's a good place, it's a better place to convert. True. I mean, it's going to take longer. Think about where you are now. I just saw someone last week. They're telling me what's going on there. It's crazy. It's just a crazy thing. So someone asks Eastern Europe any better? The problem is there are a lot of significant Muslim minorities all over Europe. England's got them, France has them, Germany has them. They're all over, right? Just waiting to take over the world. That's their, that's their goal. That's their goal, and kill anyone in their path. So the whole place is a powder keg. You had France a number of years ago, I don't think people are going to think France is like the major world power today, but still, a number of years ago, 3 weeks, they shut down the entire country. They shut down the country. You're not talking a third world country here. Someone told me in England, and I'm sure it's other places also, there's certain communities the police will not go into. Talking about by Muslims. They won't go in there. They're afraid. Now it could be Eastern Europe, some places better than others. I can't say. The only thing I can say is that that part of the world just blood drenched, soaked with Jewish blood. There's no question. No question. So, is it safer than other places? I don't know. I can't I can't answer, but if someone lives in a place where there's a Muslim minority, that's going to be a problem. That's because they're going to be a thorn in our side till the end of days. It's a powder keg waiting to happen, waiting to explode. Japan doesn't have this problem. They don't have this problem. You know why they don't have a Muslim problem? Because they don't let them in. That's the only reason. But they're going to be a problem everywhere. Everywhere's going to be a problem. Because all these countries don't having any kids, having negative population growth. And the other ones coming in having 8, 9, 10 kids, who knows what. Right? And they're at some point they're going to take over. They're going to be a majority. I mean, it might take years, but I think the writing's on the wall there. But Europe, certainly the Western world, is going to be in total conflict with Islam, which it is, which is exactly what the Malbim says at the end of days. Right? It's going to be, it's a powder keg. Any of these places. There's plenty of Muslims in America also. Plenty. So get all these significant minorities all over Europe. So they want to change the face of the place. That's what they want. And they'll kill anyone in their way. So it's going to be safe anywhere. Israel's the only safe place. Israel's going to be the only safe place. And everywhere else is when this war of Gog and Magog starts, whenever it's supposed to be, all over the world is going to be bad. It's a powder keg. Not just about Hezbollah, attacking Israel. It's going to go all over the place. That's what Israeli officials keep saying. You think it's only a problem here. But Europe's finding this out the hard way. They let in all these migrants from other places. Look what happens. This poor helpless Syrians causing havoc. Killing people, beating up people, raping women. Canada's got that problem. Europe's got that problem. You let them in. This is what happens. This is exactly what happens. So imagine what's going to be by the end of days. You got to say, how much worse can it get? Do not ask. Well, someone here said you don't have mask in Bratislava. Good. Even better. So you have less issues. But Europe's a powder keg. Europe is an absolute powder keg waiting to explode. Because they hate Western values. They despise Western values. In England, we use England as an example. A few years ago, they wanted to teach in all schools, even religious schools, They wanted to teach, about homosexuality. So chief rabbi, idiot, gets up and he says, yeah, we have no problem with it. Rabbi came out, slaughtered him. You represent Judaism? He says, no problem to teach it. According to Judaism, okay. The political position, a lot of people there don't hold of him. Whatever. Okay, but that's desecration of God's name right there. So they were talking about that in religious schools, for Jews. They didn't bring that up in Muslim schools. They wouldn't even thought twice. They wouldn't have even thought twice to try and bring that up into a Muslim school and teach about homosexuality. They would got slaughtered. Slaughtered. They know what they're dealing with. They know who they're dealing with. Yeah. So, I don't think Europe's going to be, much safer, in general. Can you finish the process in Israel? Yes. What communities would accept us there in Israel? So you have to go to a place where, there's a place not far from me. It's called Ramat Beit Shemesh. A lot of English speakers there. A lot of English speakers there. It's probably one of the best places to go. I mean, you feel like you're in America because everyone speaks English there. A lot of people speak English there. Probably the best place, for people to come. Not a cheap place to live, I would say, but it's definitely be a place to come. Are there any other communities? Well, I want to set up my community up north, which, everything's on hold anyway because of what's going on up north. But can I think of any other places? I mean, maybe there's some pockets in Jerusalem. I would say that wouldn't be bad. I'm not sure. There aren't. That's the problem. There aren't. Certainly for an English speaker, and you don't know Hebrew, you don't know the customs. Israel's a very hard place. It can be a very harsh place. A specific community. I had someone mention they're coming here. I don't know, summer. I think sometime in summer. Want to know of a place in Jerusalem that could nurture them, whatever. I don't have one. I don't know of such places. I mean, I can look into it, but I don't think there are too many places like that exist. There are a lot of synagogues. Some places have rabbis, some places don't, and there are some, I guess, maybe a little bit more nurturing than others, maybe, but it's a problem. It's a definite. What do you call it? It's a it's a definite problem. Person who live anywhere in Israel convert. That's not an issue, right? You just have to go to Rabbinical Court, I guess, sanctioned by the chief rabbinate to do it. But you could live in Haifa, you could live in Jerusalem, you could live in, you could live in Tel Aviv, you can live almost anywhere as long as you're, in a Jewish community and someone is overseeing that. Then it doesn't have to be only in one place. But again, it is, it is an issue. There aren't, that's exactly why I want to do what I want to do, to bring people in and have a proper community like that so people can come, right? Because otherwise, you only have like a little pocket here, a little pocket there, and a person can get just totally lost. Yes, my granddaughter works for a religious Muslim. Oh, that's good. That's good to know. We need trust talked about an apartment. All right, whatever. Contact me privately. I'll help you with that. Yeah. Any other questions here? 1 second. Where can I see it? Yeah. 1 second. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, there are all the questions. I'm going to sign out. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time. It's now 4 o'clock Israel time because America changed the clock. So anyone who doesn't change the clocks outside the States, then all these classes will be an hour earlier. Or if you're in the States, they don't change the clocks either way. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. orthodoxconversion.com, and you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman@gmail.com, which I'm in a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day, or almost the end of the day.